Welcome back. Welcome back to An Athlete's Journey. I'm your host, Travis Reed. And today I got a special guest, somebody I just recently hooked up with, but we seems like we know everybody, multiple people brought us together. So I think it was meant to be. Good brother, I'm saying, someone that I definitely, wanted to interview on and bring him on to the show because, I've seen that he has a lot to offer, a lot to say. So, and plus he's an overseas guy like myself. So always got to stick together with that. And wanted to, go ahead and introduce yourself to the people.
Hi, my name is Sean J. McCaw, and I am a former, how would I describe myself? A former overseas pro turned teacher turned author turned, yeah, consultant for overseas basketball players. And I'm very excited to be here today. Like you said, the stars fell in line for us to be doing this. So I'm overjoyed to be here right now.
No, I appreciate you coming on, Sean. Like, it means a lot to me. Like I said, check out his clips, everybody. We'll let him get to his page after the show. But like, he has some good clips, good knowledge, you know what I'm saying, along with some funny stuff too. So check out his page. Like I said, we'll get to that after the show. We're gonna get right into it. We're gonna ask you, Sean, how did your basketball journey start?
Ooh, man, just like everybody back home, man. Parents played, so I was always in the gym. Same like everybody, same story. Older brother tagged along with him to the park. He picked me up on his teams, so I get run with the older guys. Um, yeah, and then I just went the normal route. I'm a little bit of an old head, so I was there right at the beginning of AAU, which was nothing to do with how it is now. And I went to Western High School in Las Vegas, Nevada, won state championship there, then went on to the University of Arizona my freshman year, played together with a really great Arizona team for Coach Olson. Damon Stoudemire was my roommate my freshman year.
Oh, okay,
I
okay.
I didn't like it there, and I transferred. Looking back on it, I was impatient. I couldn't wait my
Mm.
turn.
Yeah, no.
Um,
It happens like that, like when
yeah.
you come out with a big name out of high school or whatever the
Oh
case
yeah.
is, you
Oh
think that
yeah.
you should play. I mean, I
Exactly.
went to UCLA, and after 2 years I left, so I get it.
Yeah. And okay. I got to tell you, you're a LA guy, so you know who this is. I was playing behind Chris Mills.
Oh yeah, yeah. Chris Mills is the big homie.
Come on. So I mean, there was no playing time.
Well,
There was no
no,
playing
no,
time.
no, no. There wasn't. No, Mills was
He was
real.
the real deal.
Yeah,
So
him and Sean Rooks, both. Sean Rooks,
exactly.
God rest his
Wookie.
soul.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. Like they both with the Arizona. I was like, man, and they used to
Yes.
torch UCLA. I
Yes.
used to get mad at them. Like, dang.
Yeah, so that was my era, man, and that's how my college thing started. And I went to a JUCO after I left Arizona, Dixie College in Utah, one of the best ones in the
Yeah,
nation.
I've heard of it. I've heard of it. I've heard of it.
And then it was like a question of where do I go after that? So I had already been recruited by all the top guns and things like that, and I was like, hell, I got 2 years left. I want to be the big fish in a small pond. I had Wake
Mm,
Forest after me. I had USC after me. I had a lot of top teams after me. And I
hmm
was like, you know what? Southern Utah University did not even recruit me because they thought they had no chance. And I went there on a visit for a friend who was a football player just for the
hmm
weekend, and I
hmm
wanted a hotel. I wanted to stay for the party. And I told the coach I had one more visit slated. I told the coach, if you get me a hotel room for tonight, then I'll stay for a visit. His jaw dropped because he literally never recruited me, Bill Evans. And then he did, and I ended up signing that weekend. I was so impressed
Wow.
that I signed that weekend. So I went at that time. They were independent. They weren't even in a conference at that time. But I was so sold on the fact of what he wanted to do with me, even though he totally wasn't prepared for it, um, that I decided, yeah, I'm going to be a big fish in a small pond my last 2 years and see what happens. One of the
Okay.
best decisions I ever made.
Okay. Growing up, were you interested in playing other sports?
Um, Football was my first love. I can say that. I started playing Pop Warner football before I started even playing basketball officially, really. I was just always in the gyms.
Hmm.
But football was my first love, but it was pretty clear that as I got
Basketball.
older, it was just going to be basketball.
I got you. Now I know AAU was kind of just starting during your time.
Right.
Did you play AAU basketball?
Yeah. I played in with one of the first Vegas teams that traveled, and we had some really good talent on that team. We went to back then. It wasn't the circuit that it is now. You know, you wasn't flying all across the country.
Yeah.
But we went to Arizona State. There was one in Phoenix. There was another one in California. I did the Pump Brothers back then. We went somewhere else to Georgia or something like that. So yeah, that was like the beginning of AU, and that
Hmm.
was a pretty
Hmm.
pretty cool time, man. Met some really
No,
really good people.
no, yeah, definitely. In my time growing up, my class was 97, so it was like Baron Davis, Jason
Hmm.
Jaron Collins, Shea Cotton,
Oh yeah,
Kenny Bruner, just a bunch of guys just in the
right.
97. But I did see, at Victoria Park, I did see, like Toby Bailey, Charles
Yeah,
Bannon, all those
yeah.
guys. They were,
Brandon Brothers. Yeah,
yeah, so I saw Ed, I saw Tracy Murray, Cameron Murray,
yeah,
like all those guys was like, all in that at that time. So yeah. The AAU back then, it was like it wasn't like it was now. But like it wasn't teaming up. Everybody was going against each other like on,
yeah,
three or
yeah.
four different teams. So
That was the era, man. Also in pro sports, that was the era. It wasn't
yeah.
buddy ball. It was I'm trying to kill you, and then after the game, we're gonna shake hands. We're gonna dap it up. We're gonna go
Yep.
have a drink. You know, we're gonna talk after that. But during that game, I'm like all in your face.
Yep. No, I agree. I agree. So you're in high school, right? What would you say your most memorable moment was in high school?
Oh, yeah, winning the championship, winning state. That was, I mean, back then, and that's crazy how times have changed because back then high school ball was much more important than AAU ball. Now it's kind of the other way around, and I don't even know if kids these days even cherish those moments when they're in high school because they're thinking more about the AAU circuit and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. But for
Mm-hmm.
me, winning that state championship was just dope. That was just incredible, and the whole
Yeah.
atmosphere and everything was just incredible, man. And that's the one thing that I still got my championship ring. Um, I I loved it. That was the shit.
No, no, man, that's why I agree with you 100%. You know what I'm saying? Like, I won state as a freshman. So, like, yeah, like it was the biggest thing. Like, oh my God, I just won state and
Yeah.
city. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
winning state is huge. Now, you were obviously one of the top players in the country coming in. What made you choose Arizona?
Whew, man, that's a good question, man. My top five was UNLV. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, I'm a Vegas kid.
Mm-hmm.
UNLV, Arizona, Arizona State, um, Wake Forest, and Loyola Marymount. Those are my top five. And it all came down to basically the fact that I had been a long time Sean Elliott fan. That was my guy when he was at Arizona. He was a
Mm-hmm.
beast in college.
Yes, yes.
And so that kind of sticks with you. And then when when you got Luke Olson coming into your house, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
His presence, his just like coming in with a suit, his army of assistants. Like I honestly would have gone to UNLV, but I knew Tark wasn't going to be Jerry Tarkanian. I knew he wasn't going to be there my whole 4 years. The scandals were catching up to him, and I knew he wouldn't be there my whole 4 years. Had he been there, had he been there my whole 4 years, I
You
definitely would have gone there.
okay,
But at
okay.
that time, there was a big Arizona and UNLV rivalry because for recruits because Arizona a couple years prior had gotten Matt Othick, who was also from Las Vegas, and so yeah, I ended up going to Arizona because I mean they were number three in the country. I mean, what's not to love about playing for Coach Olson and going down there to Arizona?
No, I hear you. I mean, he came into my house too, Lute Olson. I
Yeah,
committed there, But then I changed my mind. I was like, I can't leave California and go to UCLA. That was I went there. Like, I remember Jason Terry was my host.
Your host?
Yeah, him and AJ Bramlett. And like, I committed that weekend to Arizona.
Mhm.
And craziness was like that same weekend. That's when Jim Harris got fired from UCLA with that scandal and everything.
Right. I remember.
And yeah, and like I said, Steve Lavin took over, and he called me like within the next couple of days, like, yo, don't go to, because I guess he heard that I was gonna go to Arizona. We still want you, Travis. Don't go, And so I remember I told Coach O, like, I can't leave, California, I can't leave my home, so he understood, but yeah. All right, so you're at you choose Arizona, obviously one of the top schools in the nation with obviously great, tremendous talent.
Yeah.
What do you remember about your first year in college?
There's two moments that I remember from my freshman season. The first is the very first day of practice. Actually, they both happened on the same time. The very first day of practice. Chris Mills broke my nose.
Oh,
First day of
wow.
practice. But I gotta say, I had it coming. I was the brash freshman, talking shit, no respect, and he basically put me in my place. Like
Okay.
it was a clear elbow to the nose, just that kind of shut up, young guy. I'm running this here. You sit down, and he broke my nose the first practice. And then and they didn't have the masks like they have them now that are sleek on your face,
You
the
had to wear
Kobe
the big.
Mamba. They had the big, like the thing that went across the top of your head, and then the other one that went across your nose, and then the one down the middle. So it was bad. It was bad. And that's what I remember the first day of practice. The other thing that I remember the first day of practice was the fact that I remember watching Damon Stoudemire the first day of practice and thinking, damn, this dude is good. He's gonna be a pro. He's gonna be a pro. And he was already my roommate, so we talked. We were cool like that. It was. But like seeing somebody practice live, I mean, he already had a reputation, all of that. But seeing him live was just like, yo, this dude is definitely league bound. This dude is good. Those are two things that I really remember from my freshman year.
No, yeah. I used to watch them all the time. They were the second most, like, I obviously watched UCLA and Arizona because they were the best two teams in the Pac-10 back then.
Pac-10 back then,
yeah. Pac-10. So it was, I remember, like, they used to have a squad. Sean Elliott was the same dude, only dude I ever see dunking on dudes with knee braces on. Yeah, knee braces on both knees and just be like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I remember that. But what was the hardest thing, like to transition, from college from high school, like the biggest difference?
I mean, it's every level you go up, no matter if it's from middle school to high school to college to pros, whatever level. There's an adjustment. And for me, the game moved much quicker. Of course, the coaching was better. The passes were harder. I remember I used to drop a lot of passes. The first couple of weeks of practice, I dropped a lot of passes. And it was because I have these my hands, my thumbs are really weird. And my thumb like goes backwards. And the first thing, if I open my hands, the first thing that touches the ball is not my other fingers, it's my thumb. And there's like a part of my thumb that kind of, if you hit it too hard, the ball like ricochets. So I was getting these hard passes that I wasn't used to, and the ball was just hitting my thumbs, and I was dropping it all the time. And it took weeks before I could get used to it. I eventually did, but just the pace was different, the coaching was different, the style of play was different, and of course, you as a freshman, you want to prove, and you can't really make mistakes as a freshman. Not on that stage.
No.
That was tough. That was tough for me to realize that, yo, you are the bottom on the totem pole.
No, I got it. I mean, but on that team, with 3, 4 NBA guys on
Yeah,
one team. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? Like I get it.
yeah.
You know, like that's obviously huge. So you stay for 1 year at Arizona, and
Hmm.
then you say that you just out, like I'm out. I'm not going to really play.
No, it wasn't quite that easy.
Uh,
It wasn't quite. I left Arizona very unceremoniously,
okay.
and I'm sure that the legend of that exit probably is still being talked about in the McCaw Center. Um, Basically, to make a long story short, I had been on the dog in the doghouse
Mm-hmm.
because I was messing up in school and stuff. I'm hanging out with Chris, going to strip clubs and stuff, not showing up at breakfast meetings at 8 o'clock in the morning before my first class. I was wild. I was wild. And I'm a freshman. He's a junior. Come on.
Yeah,
I
he's a
can't hang with
pro.
him.
He's the NBA
He
guy.
knows what's
Yeah,
going on.
yeah.
So 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 I was in doghouse for a while. Then I kind of got used to everything I was coming out of it. Then the moment when it changed for me was we played against Shaq on national TV when he was at LSU.
I remember that.
It was a Christmas tournament the year before I got there. Shaq killed Arizona in LSU.
Okay.
And the next year was the year I was there. They came to our Christmas tournament on ABC, everything, and I got in. I think the last 2 minutes of the game. Shaq had fouled out. I got in. We blew him out. I got in the last 2 minutes of the game. I got a nice dunk. I think I scored like 6 points, something like that. And when I got home on my answer machine, I had 10,000 messages. Hey, why you didn't play? Yo, I watched the whole game. I ain't see you until the last 2 minutes. Hey, I mean, all kind of people hit me up like, why are you not playing? I'm thinking, well, yo, I'm a freshman, but somehow you still have that recruitment stuff in your head, like that you're better than that. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
somehow I let that influence me, and I kind of dragged that on. And then we did our trip to Stanford and Cal. That was our one of the weekend trips that we had, and we played in Stanford. I didn't get in. That was a close game. And then the Cal game we were killing, and I was kind of like a fan favorite because when I would get in, I would get dunks. I was athletic, and the crowd that traveled with us was calling my name. They were chanting my name. We want Sean. We want Sean. And I never forget this. I'm sitting right next to Sean Rooks, and he was kind of like my old head. He kind of like took me under his wing. And so the crowd is cheering for me, and Coach Olson gets up. He walks down to the end of the bench where I'm at with Sean. He looks at me like he's going to put me in, and then he looks to my left, and there was Ray O's. Now Ray O's is also from Cali. Um, we were probably pretty much the same position, but at that time, maybe I was maybe a little bit ahead of him. Let's
Mm-hmm.
say it like that in the depth chart. And he put Ray in before he put me in.
Oh wow.
Everybody's looking at me like, Sean, what you do? I was like, I ain't do nothing. I've been going to study practice. I've been going, my grades are good. Like I'm good. Like I don't know. And he didn't put me in, and that really pissed me off. And to make a long story short, I'm sorry. We got to practice the next day, or the next time we had practice, we're all in the McCaw Center. And if you know the McCaw Center, it's right on campus. And at any given time, there's people walking around studying, walking through to get to the other side of the campus, stuff like that. And we're in the mid court stretching, and Coach Olson comes and says something to me. I don't remember exactly what he said anymore, but he said something to me, and I got hot. And I said something. I snapped at him, and Sean Brooks was like, "Yo, calm down, man." I was like, "No, fuck this, get this. Um, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of not playing." And he told me to get out. Coach Olson told me to get out. Give your stuff to the manager. Come back when you think you can be a part of this team. I can tell you, I never saw that floor again. I walked. I walked. I walked out of there. When he said, "Give your stuff to the manager," I had on my shoes, and we were the testing school for the very first Hirachis, right?
Oh,
So we were
okay.
testing the Hirachis. I had on the Hirachis. I took them off. I took off my practice shorts, and I don't know why I did this. I had on some bikers on there. I wasn't just hanging. So and I took those shoes and the shorts and I threw them in Coach Olson. I walked out of there in biker shorts and socks. This is no lie. This is no lie. I walked out of there in biker shorts and socks, and I never
Wow.
saw that court again. There was some talk for me to come back to the team right before March Madness, but it never materialized. And Coach Olson was one. You couldn't just walk into his office and say, "Hey, Coach," you had to make an appointment. And I made like 2 appointments. He never kept them, so it was obvious. Okay, he didn't want me back,
Yeah.
so I bounced. So then I finished the year out. I think this was in January. I went home for about a week. My parents didn't even know where I was. I was at my best friend's house. Damon gave me money for the bus because I didn't have no money. Damon
Wow.
gave me money for the bus. I went home, then came back, finished school, and then I left. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Well, yeah, when you throw your stuff at the coach and walk out just the biker shorts and shorts.
Come on, man. There's people in the stands. There's reporters there. Come on, man.
Yeah, you're
I
not
mean, I
gonna
was
embarrass them. Yeah.
no, no. I was young and dumb, man. And the good thing I got to end the story. The good thing is that years later, I was already playing over in Europe. Years and years later, I ran into Coach Olson at an airport.
Mm.
And I went over to him and I apologized to that man and told him I'm sorry I did that. And I was so immature. And he was so gracious. Like when I walked up to him, I didn't expect him to know who I was. He knew exactly who I was when I walked up to him, shook my hand, gave me a hug, and he don't hug people. He ain't like that.
Right.
And he gave me a hug, and I told him what I had to tell him, and he gracefully accepted my apology and told me, he had kept up with me, saw that I had a good career, and he was proud of me. And don't worry about that incident. It's a growing moment. That's what he called it, a
Mm.
growing moment. And that's exactly what it was.
Oh man, I get that, what I'm saying. I think that sometimes we get heated, and then we realize that, it was a mistake later on, obviously.
Yeah,
So
yeah. But that's the way it was, man. That was the end of, I'm telling you, biker shorts and socks. Never saw that court again.
the fact that you was walking around campus getting to your dorm room like that.
No, I went into the locker room, man. I had clothes.
Oh, okay,
I
okay,
walked out of
okay.
the court. I walked off the court.
Oh, okay. I was like, whoa. But no, that's like that they probably do talk about you like that's the storm out like Sean did years ago, back in the day. No.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? So okay. What would you say your greatest triumph and your greatest failure was in college?
Um, Triumph would definitely be going to Southern Utah. I had 2 great years there. Did a lot of good stuff there. I'm in the Hall of Fame there now. Um, that was a great decision. That was a great decision. That was probably one of the best decisions. Ranks up in the top 5 of best decisions I've made my whole life. Disappointment. To tell you the truth, I would say maybe leaving Arizona, but I don't like to look back on things in regret.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't regret what happened. Of course, I would if I had to do all over again. I wouldn't have done it that way, so disrespectfully. But 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 that was my path. You know what I'm saying? And in college, I had 4 great years of college, man. I learned so much. I did some good things. I played on some great teams with some great teammates. College for me was a blast. It was really a blast. I can't say that there was anything that really disappointed me about college. I
Mm-hmm.
was lucky.
Mm-hmm. Well, hey, that's what I'm saying. I was actually going to transition to the next question, which is like, what was the biggest lesson you learned in college? But you kind of already answered it. You know what I'm
Don't
saying?
insult Coach Olson like that. That's my lesson.
Okay, all right. So you have 2 wonderful years at Southern Utah.
Yeah.
You're a senior. What happens next?
Yeah, so I'm a senior, and I start getting interest from agents, and I think I had like 7 agents that were interested in me, and I told my coach, "You figure it out. You
Right.
weed out. You leave me with 3. You weed out the other ones. I don't even want to talk to them. I want you to talk to them, weed them out. The ones that you don't think are a good fit for me, because of course I had aspirations of playing in the league. I knew I wasn't going to get drafted, but I thought, okay, I'm a Utah guy. I'm in Utah. I'll get a look from the Jazz, and I was supposed to play with the Jazz in the summer league in the Rocky Mountain Review. So it was like, okay, give me let's find an agent that will have both my interests of playing in the NBA and possibly overseas if that doesn't work. It was clear that those were the two options that I was going to pursue.
Okay.
And I ended up signing with a guy named Massimo Rizzo out of Italy. And then for me, of course, I had the NBA aspirations. Then they had the lockout, the very first lockout, 1995.
Oh, it was a
So
lockout in 95? I didn't even know that. I forgot.
the very first one, 1995. And so everything shut down. No Rocky Mountain Review. I couldn't play with the Jazz. No summer leagues. Everything was shut down. So I ended up going to Austria to play, which wasn't my first choice. My like I said, my agent was Italian, and he had sent me a contract from a team in Italy, a first league team in Italy. But the because of the lockout and nobody knowing if they could maybe pick up an NBA guy because nobody knew how long the lockout was going to last, he was dragging his feet. Why am I going to pay for an unproven college guy when I could possibly get an NBA guy?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
normal. It's a business. Okay.
No, I get it. I get that. Yeah.
So he was stalling for time, and I got impatient, and I told my agent, I was like, look, man, I just want to play. Just get me on the first bird wherever. I don't care where. I just want to get out of here. I want to play somewhere. So we devised a plan. He was like, look, there's a team in Austria that's really interested. They've been blowing my phone up, but the money is terrible. I was making 1,200 a month plus 2 meals a day.
I made 1,500 a month my first year in Holland, so I get it. I get that,
So,
bro.
but compared to what I was supposed to make in Italy, it was peanuts, right?
Of course,
So,
of course.
So I was like, I don't care. Let's go. And he was like, okay, the club is playing in what they call now the Euro League.
Yeah.
Was called the Korach Cup back then. And he was like, they're playing in the Korach Cup. You can get some exposure. You're gonna dominate that league out there, and then we're going to get you either back NBA tryouts or somewhere in Italy. I'm like, okay, that's the plan. That's how we're gonna do it. So the first weeks, everything was good. Everything going according to plan. I'm averaging like 26 a game. We're like 11-0 in the league. We're doing well. I'm playing well in the Korach Cup, getting seen. I think I was averaging like 22, 23 in the Korach Cup. Everything going to plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then we had an away game in my league, broke my leg. Totally changed the whole trajectory of my career. Totally.
Wow. Okay.
So I think I was there a total of about 2.5 months before I broke my leg.
Okay. Dang. That sucks.
Yeah.
So what happens after that?
So after that, I got to tell you, I've been really lucky, man. I've been really fortunate and really super lucky in my whole career. Even in a moment like this where I broke my leg, I had never been injured before. I'm overseas. I had been there 2.5 months, spoke no German, wasn't making any money. You know, I still had a lot of luck. So basically what happened was it was an away game. They had to rush me back to where I lived, like 2 hours, and they had to do the emergency surgery right away. I had no choice. It wasn't like I was going to fly back home and
Of course,
I had to get operated on right then. And the next morning, literally the next morning, I wake up from my deep sleep. The team, the president and the coach come in, my team, and they're like, "Look, we talked to your agent. Everything is pretty set. We're going to offer you the same contract that you have this year. We're going to offer you for next year. The only thing you have to do is you have to stay here for rehab. You can't go home for Christmas because back then there was a longer Christmas break. These days it's not like that anymore. So he was like, you got to stay here for Christmas break. You got to rehab. And then by the start of next season, you should be good. You're going to play under the same contract. We're going to work with you. And we really like what you brought to the table. So we'd like to keep you. Of course, they could have sent me right back home.
Right.
They could have sent me right back home. They didn't have to do that. Over here, you get hurt, they put a Band-Aid on you, and they send you home. But they didn't do that. They kept me. They kept their promise. They paid for everything. And that started the next year. But that's how it kind of went. But I was really fortunate, really lucky that my agent really pushed for me to stay there and that the team was receptive to that. Because of course I didn't know if I was ever going to play again. That's the
Right.
first time I had ever been injured in my whole life. So I had no idea. And it worked out that I was able to rehab and stay there. But
Okay.
that totally changed the trajectory of my career because after that, I had no intention on staying in Austria after my first year. None.
Right. 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 Right.
And
Right.
then my second year, I still wasn't 100%. And I ended up staying with that team for 4 years.
Did the money go up after those first two?
The money went up, but Austria is not a high paying
Yeah. Yeah.
country, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, for Austrian comparisons, I was making good money by the time I actually left. But so I stayed there for 4 years. Then I went to another team in Austria, and after that, by that time, I was married at the time. My firstborn, my son was born in Austria, um, and I got the citizenship. And once I got the
Mm-hmm.
citizenship, that's when I started making money.
Mm-hmm.
I got the
Mm-hmm.
Austrian
No.
citizenship. I started playing for the Austrian national team. And then I left the country and I never went back to play anyway. Because no, because I mean the money was just I mean, I was a
No.
Bosnia
Yeah.
A player and I could play literally everywhere for as like a citizen of that country because I was an EU guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I was more valuable. So my money went up astronomically. And I just rode that on out for the rest of the total of 13 years that I played overseas.
So you played 13 years. I was going to ask you how long was your overseas career?
Yeah, 13.
Okay. So what other countries did you play in? How many countries did you play in?
So after I played in Austria for 5 years, then I went to France for 1 year. Then I went to Portugal yeah, Portugal, yeah, Portugal. Then I came to Germany the first year, the 1 year. Then I went to Switzerland, and then I came no, and then I went to England, and then I came back to Germany. I haven't left yet. I haven't left since then.
Okay. So
So
what year did you finish? What year did you finish with them?
I was 34 when I finished, and I went right into coaching here in Germany. But yeah, I mean, I had 2 last years here in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that was going to be the end of my career, and by then I spoke fluent German. So, and Germany is a great place for someone to like settle down, or if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
And I loved Germany. I had a great time here, and I played here a couple of years, so I knew everything. And yeah, so I ended up staying.
All right. I played in Germany for a year. My actual last year in Europe was in Germany.
Where were you?
I was over there by the base. I played with this team called the Braves. It was second
Kaiserslautern.
division. It might have been,
Kaiserslautern.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a
Yeah.
second division Germany. It
Yeah.
wasn't the first
Yeah.
division. Yeah. It was over literally right by the base.
Yeah. I know it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who
So
was your coach? You remember?
actually it was two
Was it
coaches. One
Marcel?
coach, we had like I want to say European or
Hugo
something
guy?
coach. Yeah, yeah. And then
Neyland?
he quit, and then we had another coach. We had the manager was the coach for like 2 games, and then another coach came and finished out the
A
season.
German guy?
Yeah.
Marcel?
I don't remember the names now.
I think it might have been Marcel.
It might have been because
He coached
we
them.
was fighting to stay up in the second division. We
Yeah,
had to play
yeah.
a game to stay up in the second division. I remember
Yeah.
that. It was Lee Joker he was
Yeah, I remember.
you remember, yeah.
I remember him,
Yeah. Lee, Lee was like the main dude, like the American, Australian,
Right.
but the foreigner, yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I played in Holland for 4 years, so I was around, I know about a lot about
Mhm.
Germany, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I played for like the greatest Holland coach ever, Tone Boat. So,
Mhm.
he was won like 16 or 17 Dutch championships or whatever. I was
Yeah.
part of his last one in 2004.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. But yeah, I know about Germany. My boy, Casey Jacobson,
Oh, he was a beast out here, man.
Yeah.
Playing for Bamberg.
Yeah.
Playing for Bamberg. He was a beast. They won many championships, too.
Yeah. That's my boy, obviously. And then I was actually going to sign with Luxembourg Is it Luxembourg? I got injured and they ended up signing my boy Kelvin Gibbs in Germany. Yeah. We played them in the ULIP Cup. And then you know what I'm saying, like they was going to sign me. Then I literally got injured that summer. And like you said, like once I got injured again, that was like kind of the last big injury, kind of changed my whole trajectory of like
Yes,
paying.
sir.
Yeah, so
Yes,
I get
sir.
it. So based off your experience, you know, what would be your best advice for the next generation of players? Like, you know, what the next generation of players like yourself?
Oh man. You know, I wrote my book many years ago. Let me plug that real quick. Same name, different game. I wrote that many years ago and then I updated it in 2020. And I wrote it because I knew that players needed some kind of guide to help them navigate overseas.
Mm-hmm. Oh, hell
And
yeah, hell yeah.
that's what I wrote the book about. And so basically, my book goes from your senior year of college, or actually the end of your junior year, what you should be doing during your senior year, and then the things that to prepare you to get you through your whole first year of overseas ball. That's pretty much the gambit of it. I talk about everything from looking for an agent. If you have one, the questions you should ask. If you have to look for one, what you should do. Um, what could happen if you get fired overseas? What happens if you get hurt overseas? If you're winning overseas, the culture. So that it should get you through your whole first year overseas. And the one thing that I've noticed since doing that, and now also trying to help these athletes as a consultant, if you're not ready to adapt, you're not going to make it over here. That's clear. That's clear. If you are not willing to change your game in some aspects, be ready for new training techniques, or be open for that. There's different rules. If you're in the third league in Germany, you got to have three Germans on the court at the same time. So that influences how the Americans are used. Like there's so many different things that if you're not willing to adapt and you think it's going to be like back home, you're going to be in a world of trouble over here. And I know many players that were more talented than me that couldn't handle it over here, couldn't handle it because they weren't willing to adapt. And I had a really good career, very thankful for the career I had. But I think the most important reason why I was able to not only have such a long career and then go into coaching right after, also overseas, was and still live here now. I'm almost 28 years living overseas actually. Is my ability to adapt.
Makes sense. Makes a hell of a lot of sense. You know, for myself, it was like a routine. Like, I had to have a routine every day. Get up, go to the weight room, or gym. If the gym ain't open, usually it was only open like twice a week in the morning. So, I would get up, go to the weight room, lift, come back home, ice, take a nap, you know what I'm saying? Get ready for the practice, come back home. You know what I'm saying? It was like a straight routine.
Yeah.
Every Sunday I went to the, not every Sunday, but most Sundays I would go to the movies, because they would have the English movies with like Dutch,
the subtitles.
Subtitles. And I was good as long as I had a weight room gym, a basketball gym, some form of club where we can go hang out. In the movie theater, I was straight. A lot, like you said, I've seen so many talented guys can't take it. They can't be away from home or the family or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I understand that 100%.
Yeah.
So all right. Well, what would you say the best thing about being overseas was to you, compared to maybe the States?
I'm gonna take that two ways. First of all, as an athlete, and second of all, privately, because it's two different things for me. As an athlete, yeah, basketball gave me so much, man, and it just gave me the opportunity to travel. Like I said, I bounced around to different countries, but I did that by design. I didn't after I left Austria, I didn't want to stay somewhere longer than a season. I later played in Geneva 2 years, and I did my career in Germany after playing my last 2 years. But I wanted to jump around. I wanted to see different cultures. I wanted to experience living somewhere else, and seeing where I might want to live one day, possibly. And that's why I jumped around a little bit. that's what basketball gave me, the opportunity to experience a lot of things and see what I like, what I didn't like, and gave me an opportunity for then the personal side to that question. Um, it's just much more of a carefree life than what I would have had in America. You know, it's not for everybody. I don't think everybody should just move over to Germany or somewhere. It's a different life. You know, it's much different. Um, but for those of you that would like to do it, it can be a really great life, man. I got no worries here, man. I got zero worries. I don't have to worry about police brutality. I got mixed kids. I don't have nothing with racial stuff. There's racism everywhere. You're gonna have that, but it's not overtly racist out here. Um, I back home, I will stay behind a cop car for 18 miles if I have to. There's no way I'm passing a cop car in America, right? Because they they run in your tags, and no, that's a risk that I will not take. Here, here, man, I'm doing 130 on the autobahn,
Oh, the
and
Autobahn. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
on
yeah.
the autobahn, because you can do that there.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But that I would never think to do that back home.
Of
Never.
course. Of course.
So I'm not scared. I've been reconditioned that I don't have to be scared of the police out here. And that's a very, very freeing feeling. But the moment I step foot in America to visit, man, I'm scared. I'm scared. I ain't gonna lie. Yo, I'm scared.
I feel you, bro.
So
I feel
no,
you.
so for me, with my family, I got kids now, it was for me, it's just much more comfortable to live over here. I speak fluent German. I mean, I'm a teacher and I work at an English speaking school. Um, so that's not an issue either. But yeah, man, it's just the lifestyle for me was such that it made sense for me to stay overseas.
Makes sense. Like, I mean, I would say like whatever makes you happy makes you happy.
Yes, sir.
So I do have a couple more questions for you, and then you can go to sleep or relax a little bit.
I'm straight, man.
No, when did you know when to hang it up? How'd you know when to hang it up?
I was always very proud. I'm still very proud, and I never wanted somebody to look at me and say, "That's not the old Sean. That's old Sean." You know what I'm saying?
Kind of like the Lakers with LeBron. Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like I wanted to make sure I hung them up at a time when I could definitely see the downward progression of my game. I was getting older, slower, not as athletic. I was smarter in some ways, but yeah, I mean, I could definitely see the downward trend, but I was still playing in the first league. It wasn't that I was, I don't know, someone playing somewhere in the eighth league, something like that. I was still a first league player.
Right, right, right.
And for me, it was a situation that when I came to Germany, um, I knew I was going to only play 2 more years. And my second year, the plan was that I would go into coaching on that team. I would be an assistant coach on that team where I was playing. And I always knew I wanted to coach, so that was the next logical step. So everything was planned out for me. So that made it easier to transition everything. I didn't have any problems with the lights not being on anymore, the crowd cheering. Went right into coaching. I was still right in the mix. And the only thing that happened was that my coach got fired halfway through the year of my last season. And because we didn't have so much money, they asked me if I would be the head coach. So I literally retired in the first league. This is a story that you don't hear ever. First league team fires their coach, asks a player to be the coach, and I coached the last 15 years, the last 15 games of the season as
Were
head
you
coach.
a player coach or you just coached?
Yes and no. I started out as just the coach, like with a suit on and everything. And then we had some injuries. We had a really bad rash of injuries and one suspension for a guy caught smoking weed. And we didn't have enough players anymore. We only had 9 licensed players, and you need 10. So they had to reactivate me as a player coach. So then I had to be, instead of being on the sideline with a suit, I had to be with a sweatsuit on and my uniform under the sweatsuit. I could literally sub myself in, and it happened 2 times. I had to sub myself in 2 times. Yeah. So that was my
Wow. So you actually had a sweatsuit and you had your jersey and stuff on
right.
under.
I had my jersey, I had everything on underneath, my game shoes, everything. And I think that was like the last 4 games of the season. I think I had to do that. And I had to sub myself in twice. Yeah.
Come in for like 5, 10 minutes to get a bucket here and there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
No, that's cool. I never heard of that story. There's only one other person I ever seen player coach. That was Bill Russell. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't quite like Bill Russell because we were stinking it up and we moved down to the second league. But but it was the experience for me because that's what I wanted to do. That's exactly I wanted to coach, and then I went on to coach 8 more years.
Okay. So what was the transition like after basketball was done? Was it like the easy transition? Because obviously you went straight to coaching, but like, did you ever think like, man, can I do one more year and not do one more year?
Um, coaching is different than playing, man. It's a lot more stressful. It's a lot more work. Um, and to tell you the truth, after about my 8th year, I was a little bit burned out, but I still wanted to coach because I loved it. But then I made a family decision to stop coaching.
Mm-hmm.
I was living where I live now. I was coaching here, and I had an offer to be an assistant coach in the first league with one of my best friends who was coaching in the first league. And but the problem was that his team was in the very south of Germany, like 6 hours from here. And I didn't want to move the family again. We had moved a couple of places while I was coaching, and my kids were getting older, in school, and I didn't want to move them again. So we said, okay, we're going to stay here, but I'm going to look for something else. If I find something else, I'll stop coaching because I didn't want to move the family, and
Right.
I didn't want to be 6 hours away and my family be here. That's not a marriage. That's not a relationship for me.
Right.
So I said, okay, you know what? For the family, I'll see if I can find another job. If it pays me something, what we need to live, something like that. It's not going to be what I was making before, but okay, just a normal life. Then I'll take it. And luck happens, man. I told you I've been real lucky, man. I put in for an application for a teaching job here in Germany, and where I live. We have a English Cambridge school here, and they hired me like 3 days later. So I
Wow.
told my wife, okay, if I find something,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm gonna stop. If not, then I have to take this job in the south of Germany, and we'll figure it out. Put in the application, went for an interview. 3 days later, I got hired.
Mm.
Easy decision. And the funny thing is, after I got hired and I became a teacher, I did not watch basketball for 2, 3 years. I totally stayed away from basketball. We got a pro team here. I didn't go to the games anymore. I didn't watch any NBA. I didn't watch any college, nothing for like 2.5, 3 years because I was just so burned out. I had been doing it my whole life. And
Right.
then slowly I started coming back. Then I wrote the book. I rewrote the book, brought it out in 2020 when we had some time, you know, and um,
Pretty
and then
much.
slowly but surely it sucked me back in. Basketball has sucked me back in, and now I'm doing consulting for athletes that want to come overseas to try to help their journey.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I wrote the book, same name, different game, and yeah, and I'm more and more back into it.
Okay. Well, yeah. Basketball can suck you back in. I remember when I
Oh yeah,
retired, I didn't watch basketball for like 2 years. I was like, fuck ball, fuck everything, fuck life. but
I, I know it, man.
yeah, so now it's better, Well, when it comes to we always ask this question to all our people that get interviewed. At one point of our careers, we all go through low points, in our life, either overseas or in the States. How did you get over that low point, and what did you do to get over it? Was it family? Was it you? Was it God? Or was it whatever? How did you get over that low point in your life?
Man, I'm telling you, I've been really lucky, man. I haven't really had any low times. I've been so fortunate. And that's why I'm doing what I do now to give back because this game gave me so much. And I want to help somebody to have that same feeling that I had while I was playing overseas. My lowest point, we've already talked about my broken leg because I had never been injured before and I didn't know if I was ever going to be able to play.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I was down, but the next day they come and tell me we're going to give you a new contract. So it's like I got no time to be depressed. I need to get fit. Like I'm a very ambitious person. So it was like literally I was asking the doctor, yo, can we get started? I'm laying in with my foot up, laying in the bed. No, can we get started? What can I do? So I didn't even have time to sulk or think about how depressed I was because I was all about being fit for that next season. So the lowest point that I've ever had, I never really had problems with payments being late, stuff like that. I'm telling you, man, I seen it happen to everybody. I
Right,
didn't have that kind of stuff.
right.
So that moment when I broke my leg was by far the lowest point that I've ever had in my basketball career. And I would say I just had a good support system. It was my family as well, you know. But my family was in the States. I was in Austria. So I had some
Mhm.
good teammates, Mike Coughlin, my guy. Yeah, I just had some good teammates and a good situation that helped me through that. But like I said, I didn't have time to feel bad for myself. No pity parties. It was like, yo, I'm still in the hospital. What can I do?
That makes sense. Man, that
But
makes
I'm
sense.
thankful, man. I appreciate that question because it really lets me reflect on the fact that how lucky I was in my career.
Nah, yeah, definitely. I definitely, everybody deals through, certain traumatic things differently. And like you said, like you were pretty lucky to where like, the traumatic experience was still a blessing in a way because you got
Right,
another year of hooping, And so like I get
right.
that 100%. You know, I mean, speaking of a person who's had multiple surgeries on their legs, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I get that.
Different beast.
Yes, agreed, agreed. So, Sean, I want to say thank you, man, for coming on the show, man. I appreciate you so much, man.
You
Um,
got it.
I love your journey. Like I said, we're gonna obviously pump your book. Where can people find you? How can they get your book? How can they, if they're looking to play overseas, how can they get in contact with you?
The book is called once again, same name, different game, Your Guide to a Successful European Rookie Season. And written by me, Sean J. McCaw. So you can find it on Amazon. You can find it on my homepage, seanjmccall.com, as well as the other consulting things that I do, mentoring, things of that nature. And on Instagram, I'm really heavy. That's where I do the most, where I get in contact with players or players get in contact with me who have questions about playing overseas, and I try to help guide them into the directions and answer their questions. That's a really big part of it because a lot of players just have no idea. So if you've got a question, please hit me up on Instagram, Sean J. McCall on Instagram, and I will get back to you for sure. And there's no such thing as a stupid question. So if you got a question, hit me up and I'll hit you back.
All right, all right. See, we want to make sure everybody understands. Like I said, like I speaking from experience, my first year was insane. I was on 5 different countries in 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah, I started out in Bogota, Colombia. Played over there for a couple months. I signed a contract to go to Poland in Bogota. Came back home for a week. Went to Poland. They literally cut me because I wasn't 6'10". They cut me, like they said, we want a 6'10" guy. He's not 6'10". Didn't matter. It didn't matter at all. Like that was the first time I realized. So when I sign a contract, it's a tryout. I don't get it. Like I thought it was a year
Oh yeah.
contract. You know what I'm saying? It was like, nope, it's a tryout, and they didn't give me no money. I was there for like almost a month.
hmm
You know, Went from
hmm
there to France. Uh,
Ooh.
yeah, was in France. Coach learned. I didn't learn. I was like, I had a car, didn't know how to drive, didn't understand like the language. So I was hand washing my clothes. My clothes got left in Poland. They threw the bag away because it was too heavy. Man, from
You was going
France to
through it.
yeah, no, I was in Paris, stayed there for like 2 weeks waiting for my agent because he was French. He came out. We drove to Belgium. Coach was a dick, released me. And then I fired my agent right after that. Like, man, you ain't done nothing for me, man. Get out of here. You know what I'm saying? And after that, I got a new agent, you know, like who was Dutch. And he was like, look, you know, you could come to Holland. We're right here. You're in Belgium. Try out for a team. I mean, the money ain't gonna be nothing. It's $1,500 a month. And I was like, at this point, I was like, what do I have to lose? You know, so that's how I got to Holland. I remember like it was yesterday. We played the eventual champions of the league. That was my first game, and they ended up smacking us by like 30. And I was shaking the coach's hand like, thanks, coach, for the opportunity. You know, because I'm like, I thought I was going home. I didn't care that game. It was funny. I had 30, but I shot about 29 shots. I was like, I don't care. If they gonna cut me, they gonna cut. I'm gonna cut me being me. And he was like, oh, no, Travis gonna keep you. I was like, really? Oh, okay.
Cool.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And then obviously, you know, played in Holland for 4 years, you know, Estonia, Ukraine, Romania. So, you know, finished out in Australia and then Germany. And then last year was Australia. So yeah, the journey was crazy. It's a crazy journey.
Hey, you're gonna be on my pod in a couple of weeks, so I'm definitely gonna ask you about that, about your journey. So I definitely want to hear this when we're on my podcast.
Oh no, definitely, man. Trust me, it's some crazy stories, bro. You know what I'm saying? You probably have some, but yeah, definitely some crazy stories. So well, all right. You can follow me at Travis Reed. That's Travis WREED on Instagram. And Facebook, Travis W. Reed. I post both of my social medias on both sites. You can also follow me on my link tree. I have it on my Instagram page. And if you're still looking for that Athlete's Journey merch, feel free to DM me or message me because I still have some shirts. You know, got more shirts made because most of the shirts that I had for the first rip is mostly gone. So especially the big ones. So hit me up now because everybody wants to do, you know, the double X. Even the women. The women want the double X shirt because I don't know if maybe they sleep in it or they give it to their dudes. I don't know. So like I said, thank y'all for listening, and we'll check you out again. Peace.